Over on this side, yeah.
This question may be too personal and embarrassing to answer, but I'm just really...
Oh, I can hardly wait.
Why are you in jail?
Ah, why am I not in jail? Well, that's an interesting question. And number one, I don't know. Here's what I've come up with. Notice that I use big words. I don't try to boil it down to a shoutable slogan, like turn on, tune in, drop out. Then they come. So that's one possibility, that simply if you are defined in their eyes as an intellectual, then they automatically put you in the harmless category and send resources elsewhere. That's one possibility. Now, the other possibility is slightly more disturbing, but in the interest of thoroughness, let me raise it. Perhaps I'm sanctioned. Perhaps they decided, we don't really understand what this stuff is, and we can't have a mass movement. But let one guy just kind of keep the pilot light on in case we ever change our minds about this. He will have kept the pilot light on. And the other possibility, which is probably too naive, but in the interest, again, of exhaustive thoroughness, maybe they just haven't noticed yet. You know, Tim Leary, who's a friend of mine, would address 25,000 people at a throw. My crowds are, a couple of times a year, they creep over 1,000. And I think the key is to keep it low-key. And we don't want to, Dodger Stadium filled or anything like that. It's very good to atomize it and spread it through. Now, the other thing is, I advocate plant hallucinogens. And people always say, well, what about LSD? I mean, didn't LSD change your life? Didn't it change all our lives? Why aren't you into LSD? And the answer is certainly yes and yes. The reason I'm not into LSD is not having to do with the effects of LSD, which I think are marvelous, but with the fact that a couple of enterprising second-year biochemistry students can produce 6 or 7 million hits in a long weekend. 6 or 7 million hits of an illegal drug. Suddenly, this is the realm of governments and criminal syndicates and revolutionary disruption of populations. My brother and I wrote Psilocybin, the Magic Mushroom Grower's Guide. If you work like a dog for 6 months, maybe you can produce 2,000 or 3,000 hits. So that's the thing. LSD had chemical qualities that made it terrifying to the government. I mean, anybody with $50,000 worth of backing and 2 years of biochemistry could turn themselves into a major threat to political stability in this country. So they slammed that. They're not going to put up with that. The thing I love about the mushrooms is, if you're a dedicated mushroom grower, you produce this piddling amount, and if they come and drag you away because it is illegal, all they get is you. No syndicate collapses, no pyramid disappears. So it's invasive and low-key and slowly spreading. The other thing is mushrooms are, and this is a cultural thing, mushrooms are inherently non-threatening. They're absurd. They're what we put decals of on serving trays, and bath towels bear mushrooms on them. It's a kind of silly thing, and so I think that they don't really understand what a powerful hallucinogen this is. Well, that's enough on why I'm not in the can. This woman, yeah.
You talk about the evolutionary process and how it was disturbed by the absence of the mushrooms, don't you think that it would be a more creative and beneficial process if we worked on evolving our minds without using an external drug? What happens if the government does come in and decide to completely wipe it out, or if it's being processed where we can't access that state of consciousness anymore, and then things, they just step backwards again? Wouldn't it be so much more productive to teach people how to get there without the drug?
Absolutely, if we could do it. I mean, I'm not yet convinced, see? I mean, you've got your gurus, but if you ever get close to any of these people in these guru scenes, close enough where you can just say to them, look, level with me. Is this stuff as good as 5 grams in silent darkness? And they say, are you serious? The other possibility is technology on 2 fronts, mind machines. The problem with mind machines is, you have to smoke a bomber to put up with it more than 10 minutes. I mean, you quickly satisfy yourself that this can't possibly be it, because it is lights, but it is contentless, while the psychedelic experience is all content. The other possibility, and I've put in some time in this beat, is virtual reality. And I have more hope for virtual reality, because virtual reality is a technology for that would allow us to show each other the inside of our heads, our dreams, our visions. And I think that sufficiently perfected, it might have the consequences of these psychedelics. The problem is it carries a huge amount of negative freight. You know that it's not going to be a tool for us to show each other the inside of our minds. It's going to be a tool to sell us crap that we don't want. It's going to be a tool for yet more realistic, vicarious, and gratuitous violence. It's going to be a tool for more pornographic degradation of women. So it seems to me, while it holds out the possibility of a technically driven psychedelic, it has a lot of negative freight. I agree with your premise, but I'm driven by a tremendous sense of urgency. I mean, why try to create a technical alternative to psilocybin when you've got psilocybin?
Technical alternative, I'm saying, I think that people should use mushrooms as a step. And once you get there, you try and you keep going without that tool. I mean, because what we want, we want to transcend this plane. We want to be on a higher plane, a higher state of awareness. You're not going to get to that plane ultimately if you have to keep coming back into the plane to get the stuff, to get out of the plane again.
Well, how about this? Maybe there's something wrong with that metaphor, because notice it has to do with planes and transitions. It's an inherently dualist metaphor.